Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we were looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe. This is a new 6-issue miniseries from DC Comics, and this crosses over two great intellectual properties. We've got the Injustice video game characters, which are all DC characters with some being corrupted and whatnot. And then we've got the legendary Masters of the Universe. And it starts out with this cool one-page spread of Zodak flying through space, and he recaps us on the Masters of the Universe, gives us a little bit of background. Now, DC has done other Masters of the Universe properties before, and they've got their own kind of continuity, and they're really kind of keeping with it here. We start off with He-Man facing off with Faker, who has taken over the castle and become an authoritarian ruler. Now, some of the people actually liked that because he was getting stuff done. They thought he could protect them, and that leaves He-Man in a little bit of quandary because his secret identity as Prince Adam was outed in the He-Man Thundercats crossover, so they are keeping a lot of continuity from the previous DC series. And they're saying, why won't you do more to protect us? But of course he's upset, and he gives a little speech that's actually pretty good. He said He-Man uses his strength to fight for freedom, or he doesn't use it at all. Now that gets the attention of two important people lurking in the shadows, and that's Zatanna and Swamp Thing. And they realize they have found the champion they need to fight evil Superman, who comes to recruit them, not just Zatanna and Swamp Thing, but also Batman, Cyborg, Harley, Starfire, and Green Arrow. And they recap what happened with the Injustice storyline so far, because that series, they've had several series going on. And we get a glance at what's happening over on Earth with evil Superman, who now has Brainiac technology, and we have Prince Adam stepping in talking to the Sorceress, and Batman finds Orko funny. But we also learn that there is a greater threat. This is not what Zodak was warning about. There is another threat coming to Eternia, but He-Man isn't going to be there. So He-Man's off to fight Superman, and he's taking some of his allies with him, and Batman's leaving some of his allies on Eternia. And there's going to be quite an interesting showdown. Now, this book was great. I thought it was going to be stupid, honestly. I hoped it was going to be good, but I had very low expectations. But I really liked it. I thought it was a really fun read. If you're a fan of He-Man or the Injustice game or just DC in general, I would definitely recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun. It was a great first issue. The DC heroes were handled very well, and the Masters of the Universe characters were handled equally well. This was written by Tim Seeley, which really surprised me because I haven't been his biggest fan. He's usually kind of mediocre to just bad for me. But he really nailed it on this one. It was really good. So good job, Tim Seeley. Art was by Freddie E. Williams II. It's a very particular art style, but he does really well in a lot of the scenes. Like, he can draw He-Man pretty well, but Skeletor looks awesome. The Hordak image is really good. Zodak looks really cool. I would have liked to have seen more of Stratos in this. And Man-at-Arms has that stupid mustache, but acceptable. Sorceress looked really cool. Batman, not so much, but Battle Cat looked really good. So I really liked the art style. It worked for this one. It's not normally a style that I particularly like, but it worked here. Jeremy Colwell did colors. Really good job. Wes Abbott on letters. Good job. Liz Erickson was the assistant editor, and Christy Quinn was the editor, and Jim Chadwick group editor. All did a great job. I thought this was a really fun book. It was definitely worth my $4, and I would gladly repurchase it for such a good story. So it really brings you up to speed on the characters, gives you a quick overview, and makes it so that you could jump right into the action without missing too much. So I highly recommend this, and hope that the rest of the series is just as good, because I don't want Tim Seeley dropping the ball on this one. This is a really fun crossover that I think could be a classic. But that's just my opinion. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you liked the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe, Issue 2. This is from a miniseries from 2018, and this is written by Tim Seeley. Artist was Freddie E. Williams II. Jeremy Colwell was the colorist. Wes Abbott letterer. Liz Erickson assistant editor. Christy Quinn editor. Jim Chadwick group editor. Alright, so we pick up with the characters. This time we're learning that Stratos is out with Man-at-Arms and some of the others, and his sister Hawk is a captain of the guard, and they are being attacked by Steppenwolf and a bunch of parademons, and Avion is in a lot of trouble. Meanwhile, Batman and his rebels are going over things with He-Man, and we get allusions to the fact that this is not the Bruce Wayne Batman, which should have been fairly obvious from issue 1. So it's probably Dick Grayson, maybe Tim Drake, but most likely Dick Grayson. Anyway, we see the prison on Eternia, Dark Smoke Prison in the Ice Mountains, and Granny Goodness shows up to rescue some of Skeletor's henchmen, and He-Man gets a little concerned by what he's hearing, and he decides to go out on the town and take a look around at the things, because he's heard tales from his mother about what Earth is like in America. And obviously under Superman's regime, it's significantly different. So him and Orko slip out. Orko casts a spell to disguise him, and while they're out, they stop a woman from committing suicide. Well, suicide's a thought crime, so of course people show up. She had it timed so that she could splatter herself before they showed up. But Bane and Copperhead show up to challenge He-Man, and He-Man and Orko teach them a lesson. And we learn a little bit about the armor that people are wearing. So like Bane and Copperhead are actually being controlled by something called the Oracle, which connects to the Cryptek armor that everybody's wearing. So He-Man defeats them fairly soundly with Orko's help, and Orko's magic is actually much more powerful here, so he's actually a pretty good wizard on Earth. And He-Man gives this great pep talk to this woman, Regina Taylor, who was trying to commit suicide. Meanwhile, on Eternia, they discover the truth about what happened at the prison, and that Avion is not responding to their calls. They know something really bad is happening, but they've got Cyborg, Starfire, and Swamp Thing to assist them. And we see Mechanic, Fisto, Mossman, and some other characters from the Masters of the Universe. Well, that was redundant. Meanwhile, Skeletor is talking to Superman, and we learn that Diana and Superman both regard Skeletor as pretty useless. They think he's pathetic, but he is far from pathetic, and he has his power sword still. And that's basically the gist of the issue. It was a great issue. It was a lot of fun. I thought it was really well done. The art style isn't quite my favorite by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought it was functional. There's some really good scenes. I think the artist has a lot of potential, and it's an exaggerated art style that isn't going to be for everyone, and most people probably aren't going to like it, but it kind of works for the story, so I'm okay with it. Overall, I would recommend it. I thought it was a fun book. It definitely has the flair of a Masters of the Universe story, and it's a really interesting take on both the He-Man characters and the DC characters, and I thought Tim Seeley actually did a good job. I'm not a huge Tim Seeley fan, as you may know from his run on Green Lanterns that I reviewed, but I thought he actually did a really good job on the first 2 issues of this, so I would recommend those, and hopefully it continues to be good. I didn't really see anything political in there. The comments about thought crimes and stuff like that fit within the context of like a 1984 run by Superman. It worked for the story. I didn't think it was overtly heavy-handed politics or anything, so I would recommend it. I thought it was fun, but that's just my take. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the like button and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews. If you want to help the channel out, Patreon links are in the description and on the About page, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe, Issue 3. This is from the 2018 6-issue miniseries. This is written by Tim Seeley with art by Freddie Williams II, Jeremy Colwell colors, Wes Abbott letterer, Freddie E. Williams II and Jeremy Colwell on cover, Liz Erickson assistant editor, Christy Quinn editor, Jim Chadwick group editor. Now this is a very action-packed issue. We've got a lot going on, and I don't want to spoil too much of it. So Superman goes out to check out what's going on to handle it personally. Meanwhile, the plan is set in motion with Batman and He-Man having a long conversation. We learn who Batman really is, and it's not who I thought it was, which is interesting. Then we've got the Sorceress talking to Man-at-Arms and Cyborg, and the Talon Fighter shows up. There's so much great hidden stuff in here for Masters of the Universe fans. Supermans. We see the threat arrive at Greyskull as to who is going to attack them, which we kind of knew who it was previously, but this time they show up and team up with the villains from Masters of the Universe because they freed them all from the prison. We get to see Prince Adam use the sword, and when he summons the power of Greyskull, it changes the Crytek armor to look more like the battle armor from Battle Armor He-Man figures, which is really cool actually. Looks really neat. And we end up in this huge brawl. There's some really cool fight scenes in here. I know a lot of people complained about the art style, but I kind of like it. It gives it that feel from the Masters of the Universe cartoon, and it makes it kind of fun. It's a little less serious than the dark and broodiness of the Injustice universe that you normally get. And He-Man is smiling a lot, which I liked because it really kind of gives it that positivity. And it ends on a really interesting cliffhanger where obviously you're going to want to pick up the next issue and find out how that works out. But this was a great issue and I really enjoyed it. I thought it really brought everything forward quite well and really drives the storyline forward and gives you a lot of action in the process. Because it was so action-packed and it had good story, I'm definitely going to recommend this. I thought it was a lot of fun and I'm really enjoying this miniseries. I'm looking forward to issue 4 coming out. They really nailed the lore of Masters of the Universe and the Injustice games as well. So far, this is probably my favorite book that I picked up last week. So if you get a chance, check it out. It's only a 6-issue miniseries and it's half through, so you should be able to track down all 3 issues. This is an okay jumping on point. They do bring you up to speed a little bit. Obviously, because it is a 6-part story, you'll really want to go back and get issue 1 if you can, and I would definitely recommend doing so. But that's just my opinion on it. As always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews. If you'd like to help us out, Patreon link is in the description, and now we have a Teespring store so you can buy one of my crappy t-shirts if you're interested. Link is also in the description. Thanks as always, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we're looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe, issue 4. This is the 6-part miniseries brought to us by writer Tim Seeley, Freddie E. Williams II, artist, Jeremy Colwell, colorist, Wes Abbott, letterer, Liz Erickson, assistant editor, Christy Quinn, editor, Jim Chadwick, group editor, Freddie E. Williams II, and Jeremy Colwell did the cover. Oh, there's so much that happens in this issue. Batman is freed, but Superman and He-Man are having a knockdown drag out through quite a significant portion of the issue. Meanwhile, Zatanna tries to stop Skeletor, and there's a huge battle at Castle Greyskull between some of the anti-Superman team and the Masters of the Universe trying to stave off Darkseid from getting into the castle. Nothing good happens there. We see heroes fall, a couple of them get killed, as others are captured. Things switch sides pretty dramatically on both sides. There's some awesome battle scenes in this book, and it is just such a fluid story, man. Things change from scene to scene, and it's devastating for quite a few people. Skeletor, of course, has a few surprises left up his sleeve, and we learn that Darkseid is after the anti-life equation, that Hero, the guy that created Castle Greyskull, may have actually come across the anti-life equation, and of course that is Darkseid's primary quest. There is a lot going on here. This is a very in-depth book. It was fantastic. I wish Tim Seeley would write like this all the time. I really do. It really shows that he is a solid writer that really can do great work when he tries. And a lot of his Green Lantern stuff, I think his heart just wasn't in it. But whatever he's doing here, he needs to keep up because this was fantastic. I would be a huge Tim Seeley fan if every issue was like this. And as far as Freddie Williams' art, oh, it was amazing. For his style, there is a lot going on here. The perspective shots are fantastic. They're dynamic. The big battle scene, especially in front of Castle Greyskull, was just an amazing work. It was beautiful. That should be a poster. And this really shined on every front. The colors were vibrant and dynamic. The panels were laid out really well. It was all around a solid book, and it was fantastic. This is how comics should be every month, in every issue of every week. I loved this book. I highly recommend it. I've had so much fun reading reading this miniseries. Everything about it has been really, really good, and this issue was almost perfection on every front. So if you get a chance to check it out, please do so. They do a fairly adequate job of kind of keeping you up to speed on what's going on, but it's not a great jumping on point, but it's definitely worth checking out if you get a chance. And at the $4 cover price, I didn't feel ripped off at all. This is the highest recommendation I can give a book. I had a lot of fun reading it. It was fantastic, and I didn't feel cheated in any way. So if you get a chance to check it out, please do so, and be sure and let the publisher and the art team and writing team and everyone that's involved on it know what a good job they did so they can replicate this in other works. That's just my opinion though, and as always, thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing so you don't miss future reviews, and we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe issue 5. This is a 6-part miniseries from DC Comics, crossing over the DC Universe with the Masters of the Universe, which is really cool. But it's the Injustice version, where Superman went bonkers and is now like a warlord. This book is written by Tim Seeley with art by Freddie Williams II. Jeremy Colwell was the colorist. Wes Abbott was the letterer. Liz Erickson, assistant editor. Christy Quinn, editor. Cover by Freddie E. Williams II and Jeremy Colwell. Cover's actually pretty cool. It does relate to what's going on in the book, because while Superman is about to kill Prince Adam, he learns that Darkseid is up to some shenanigans and maybe getting the anti-life equation, while Skeletor is trying to take over at the same time. So the heroes have to join together with Superman and some of his allies to stop Darkseid before they resume trying to kill each other. And we've got some other heroes that pop up. This is a really knockdown, drag out issue with a lot of players involved. I don't want to give too much away, but a lot happens in this issue. Injustice Superman puts on his old uniform. Something crazy happens near the end that really changes the game. Like a major player is taken out. And I don't know if they're going to leave that as DC canon, so that's a good possibility, but a lot of stuff happens. And the twist ending is pretty crazy, and I'm real interested to see how this wraps up, because this was a lot of fun to read. The art is not going to appeal to everyone, but I kind of like it for this book. It's not a style I typically would enjoy, because I think people's proportions look weird, but it kind of works for that over-the-top epic kind of thing that they're going for. And I would like to see some of the other work that Mr. Williams does, because I think it's a real interesting style, and it reminds me of like some books from the 70s and 80s that I've seen. So I'd like to see what else he can do, especially if he did some like original properties where people would be a little less turned off by the proportionality of certain characters that they're used to seeing in certain ways. So I'd like to see that, but the colors are really helpful in this as well. So the art team works really well together. I just don't know if superheroes are the right genre for this artist. I think fantasy would definitely be much more up his alley if he was interested in that, or sci-fi. So overall, this was a solid read. This is probably the best issue of the series because so much happens and it's really action-packed at the same time. So to me, this one was a winner. Definitely gonna recommend this. This miniseries has been just a blast to read. It's just fun. It's not to be taken like super seriously, but so much is happening. It's just worth checking out, I think. So if you get a chance to pick this up, I would definitely recommend it. But that's just my take on it. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you want to help the channel in other ways, links are in the description and on the about page. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.
We are about to embark upon a series of strange and exciting, dangerous adventures. Adventures that will lead us to all parts of the world.
Hello and welcome to another Bad Comic Review. This time we are looking at Injustice vs. Masters of the Universe, issue 6. This is the final issue of the miniseries, written by Tim Seeley, art by Freddie E. Williams II, colors by Jeremy Colwell and Andrew Dalhouse, Wes Abbott letterer, assistant editor Liz Erickson, editor Christy Quinn, group editor Jim Chadwick. Prince Adam has to face off with Superman. They reach a sort of a compromise to see if there's any way that the multiverse universe has a solution for what happened to his family, something along those lines. Meanwhile, the fight continues outside of Greyskull. Desaad brings in this giant annihilation machine and things go crazy. Kara's getting a little bit of revenge. Some characters die, others shockingly live. In the end, it gets resolved with a magic word. But Prince Adam does what he does best and steps up to be a hero. And we get a summary at the end of how everything played out and what happens with the heroes and the villains. It's actually a really good issue. It's a great end cap to the series. I didn't mind the art. I thought it worked really well for the story. I'm not sure, like I said in the previous video, that Mr. Williams' art works that well for superhero stuff, but I would love to read some sword and sorcery, high fantasy type stuff written by Tim Seeley and with art by Freddie Williams, because I think Mr. Williams has a really good art style that would lend itself to fantasy really, really well. Now, this art style is definitely not going to be for everyone, but I think it works here with the fantasy elements mixed with some superhero stuff. I just don't think as a standalone superhero art style it's going to work that well, but with fantasy I would definitely see it working for like a He-Man series. So I'd like to see more of what he can do. But this issue was fun. This whole mini-series is great. If you're a Masters of the Universe fan, it really ties it together really well. It features the characters that you grew up with, and of course it's got the Injustice characters, so if you like that video game, you'll probably like it too. It's a great combination of two properties, and it's executed very, very well. Tim Seeley did a great job with this. I'm not a huge fan of a lot of his superhero stuff, but this was just really, really fun. I'm definitely going to recommend this. I thought the miniseries was fantastic. This issue wraps everything up nicely. Not a good standalone issue though. I would recommend picking up the individual issues so you could pace it out, but picking it up in trade would be fine too. Either way, this is what a comic book should be: entertaining, fun, and exciting, and with lots of action. So if you get a chance to check it out, definitely do so. I had a great time reading it. I hope you do too. But that's just my opinion. Thank you so much for listening and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss future reviews. If you want to help the channel in other ways, links are in the description and on the About page. And as always, we hope to see you on the next one.